Macca's guides.
Hey guys, Macca here. Welcome to my Overwatch how-to series. In this episode, we are taking a look at Tracer, easily one of the most unique and well-known characters in the game. Personally, also one of my favorites. In my time with her, I averaged like 17 eliminations a game, a lot of which are final blows, and less than 5 deaths per game. So she is an absolute beast, and I personally use her defensively, but I'll be talking about all the ways you can use her and a little bit of an overview of how she works and my strategies, tips, and tricks on how to use her. Let's start off with some of the basics. As a weapon, she has her pulse pistols. As her two abilities, she has blink and recall, and as her ultimate, she has a pulse bomb. Tracer also has 5 legendary skins available to her, which consist of Slipstream, Punk, Ultraviolet, Mach T, and T-Racer. Let's get a little bit more in depth with how these work and when you're going to want to use them. So Tracer's primary weapons are her pulse pistols. These are 2 machine pistols with a total of 40 ammo, and they're probably most effective at short range because of the high spread in their shots. They do have a high rate of fire, but they also have a relatively fast reload, so they should decently work in a variety of different playstyles as long as you're keeping them in a shorter range. The first ability we'll be talking about is her blink ability, which is one of the most unique abilities in the game. It lets her literally blink through time horizontally in space based on the direction she's moving, and she'll reappear in that place instead. It lets you jump across gaps that you wouldn't be able to clear with other characters. It lets you get behind enemies extremely quickly. It lets you leave battles that you don't want to be a part of extremely quickly. And it lets you be extremely pesky if you want to be, which is the best recommended way to play as Tracer. Additionally, she has an ability called Recall, which she uses in order to get backwards in time and restoring her health and ammo and restoring her to the position she was a few seconds back. This is extremely useful if you're in a battle that you don't want to be a part of and you took a little bit of damage and you want to reverse back into a room that's safe with all your health back. Maybe you've used all of your ammo and you're no longer comfortable reloading in the scenario that you're currently in, and you can recall out. Now, the blink timer is 3 seconds in order to restore one of your blinks, and the recall timer is a total of 12 seconds. While using Tracer, you'll be building up her ultimate ability, which is her Pulse Bomb. Now, the Pulse Bomb arguably is not that devastating. It does about 400 damage, which means you won't be taking out some of the larger enemies with only your ability, and it doesn't really devastate the entire team away that a Bastion tank or a Death Blossom by Reaper can, although it does have very specific applications which it can be extremely useful for. So let's talk about when is Tracer a useful character to use. And she does appear in the attack section of the heroes, but I actually personally found my most success was coming when I was using her as a defensive character, although she can also be extremely useful and pesky as an offensive character. I highly recommend not using her in an objective game type where both teams are attacking a central point. So I'm going to talk a little bit about her strengths and weaknesses in my opinion, who she's good against and who's good against her, and then apply those back into some of the game types and scenarios you may find yourself in as you play. In my opinion, her strengths are most definitely her movement speed, her recall ability, which allows her to basically heal herself if used correctly, her weapon damage at close range, and the ability for her to be extremely useful against predictable enemy strategies that repeat themselves over and over. In my opinion, her weaknesses are her health, which stands at 150, her bullet spread, meaning that her guns are somewhat useless at long range, and her, generally speaking, weak ultimate, although used in certain applications, extremely useful. The idea here is that you won't be taking out an entire team with Tracer's ultimate. Instead, you should be focusing on one enemy at a time, which is where Tracer is the most powerful. With Tracer, you should be picking battles one-on-one with enemies that are not in a large group, and then if you find yourself in a bad position, you should recall out of there or blink out of there as quickly as possible. The idea here is that you're going to be picking battles that you're most favorably going to win every time, and basically chickening out every time you're not going to win a battle. This allows you to get extremely high eliminations and extremely low deaths because of how easily you can maneuver your way out of a battle that's not going your way. It allows you to get behind enemy defenses or behind enemy offenses in literally seconds, and allows you to completely sidetrack an opponent's strategy. So in my opinion, she's most effective against enemies like Reinhardt, who always have a shield facing your team. You can easily get behind him and start shooting him in order to disorient him and make him to open himself up to your teammates. Tracer is also extremely useful against enemies like Mercy, who tend to stick behind their teams and heal up instead of pushing forward and being the first one out. She's also ideal against camping enemies like Widowmaker and Hanzo, who she can get behind very quickly, and Mei, who she can avoid very easily to not get frozen by. In my opinion, Tracer can be bad against enemies like Widowmaker in scenarios where Widowmaker is camping at a long range and able to get shots on you without you being able to flank her. Enemies like Roadhog and McCree, who have the ability to stop you, stagger you, and then shoot you without you being able to use your ability. And then Pharah, who can keep a really high distance between you two using her jump. Additionally, enemies like Reaper, who do a large amount of damage in a very small amount of time, are very effective against Tracer because of Tracer's inability to be able to recall in time before dying. All in all, I think Tracer can be one of the most effective characters in the game when used properly. Players should be dipping in and out of areas and picking favorable battles to win every time. She has a decently mild learning curve, although learning her strategy can take a little bit of time. Moving on from there, I'm going to end the video with showing you guys how to get her 2 achievements or trophies that are available. The first Tracer related achievement or trophy we'll be looking at is called Total Recall, which is for recovering 400 of Tracer's health in 1 life using her recall ability. Now, because you only have 150 health, you'll probably need to recall at minimum 3 to 4 times in order to get this, although I'd probably recommend doing it between 8 or 9 times in order to get this to unlock. It basically more or less comes down to you being able to have a really long life in which you go in and out of battles at a very good pace and make sure you don't take too much damage and recall out. You should probably reference the gameplay styles I was talking about earlier in the game here by being a pesky brat and going in behind enemy defenses or offenses, getting a couple shots on someone, taking a little bit of damage, and then recalling your way back into a room that you came from. It can seem a little daunting that you have to recover 400 health, but it really shouldn't take you that long if you're playing her the right way. As soon as you take significant damage of anywhere more than 50 and you're in a battle that you're more than likely not going to win, I highly recommend just recalling out of there and letting your teammates know of your enemy's ability. After recalling for a total of 400 health back, you'll receive the achievement or trophy. The next one we'll be looking at is called Special Delivery, which is for sticking a total of 4 enemies using your pulse bombs, which can seem a little daunting at first, but with this strategy I was able to get 5 sticks in 5 minutes relatively easily. Now the first step to getting this is obviously building your ultimate, which is most easily built by getting a lot of damage on bullet sponges like Roadhog and Reinhardt. Just get it behind one of those guys and unload your bullets until you build your special. You can literally build your special with about 1 full health bar of Reinhardt. After that, you'll want to find an enemy that is a large target and somewhat unaware to where you are. From there, you'll want to go up behind them and stick them using the pulse bomb, which is a little bit tough to throw because it lobs somewhat like a grenade and it doesn't really go exactly where your cursor is pointed at. My personal strategy was to get behind large enemies like Reinhardt that were focused on my teammates with their shield, and then stick them from behind when they weren't paying attention nor moving much. Sticks are most easily attained on enemies who don't really move or have very slow movement speed, again, like I said, Reinhardt, or a Bastion when it's in its turret configuration and not looking directly at you. You're going to find that sticks are hardest to get against small enemies with quick movement, so I highly recommend against that. And I found that sticks were a lot easier to do when I was on the defense and the enemies were attacking, because the attacking enemies rarely think that a defensive enemy will be behind them, whereas the other way around does happen more often. Upon getting a stick, you'll notice a large stuck sign come across the screen, and upon getting 4 of those, you should unlock this trophy or achievement. So that more or less concludes my opinions, thoughts, and strategies in regards to Tracer. Just be a pesky brat going in and out of battles, making sure you only fight enemies that you know you can beat, and make sure you're annoying enough to disrupt an enemy's strategy. Hopefully this video was helpful to you guys. Let me know down in the comments below which character I should focus on next. Special shout out to Hair and Giggles and DogCupcake84 for supporting the show on Patreon, and hopefully I see you guys next time. Peace.